Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Peter, bonjour. We finally made it happen.
Yes, we did. Bonjour, Guillaume.
All right, let's jump straight into it. What drew you in sales and consulting after a career at Sony, Canon, Dell, and 3M? Peter, what got you into all this?
So after 25 plus years that I spent in the corporate world, as you mentioned, I finally had enough.
That's a very good reason.
And I tell you why I had enough. It was the way that we were told that we had to sell.
Yeah.
And it was all inward looking into, into the way that we wanted to sell, like our sales process.
Yeah.
And the way that the organization wanted to be represented and our value proposition that we were given. And it was all like basically take this stuff and go out and sell and earn your commission or else.
Yeah.
And I found that we were, all of us, not just me, but we were all harassing unsuspecting prospects rather than selling to them.
Yeah.
And we were actually encouraged to do more of that stuff the worse the figures looked. And the more we did, we harassed our prospects, the harder it became to reach them because they all said, well, we don't want to talk to you if you just want to sell to us.
Yeah.
And so I think this is like a vicious circle that pervades selling in general, that your sales leader, your sales manager, your CEO, the board, everybody, your shareholders, everybody wants you to sell more, but they have very little consideration of what that does at the buyer end. And so after 25 plus years putting up with that stuff, I had enough and I decided to do something different. And so I founded Peter Strohkorb Sales Advisory and invented something that I call buyer-focused selling. So quite frankly, what I did was I turned around from a seller's position to a buyer's position and said, what do we actually look like to the buyer? And more importantly, what can we do to present ourselves in a better light to the buyer? And I decided that the key to it all was not to sell, but to help to buy. Help the buyer to buy from us, to align with their buying process rather than making them align or fall into our selling process. Does that make sense?
How do you do that?
Okay, so thank you for asking. So buyer-focused selling comprises 10 competencies that go right from the first, from the top of the funnel in terms of who our ideal prospects, what do they look like. I've got 7 different categories in which we can describe our ideal buyer. And right down to the bottom in terms of how do we close the sale and close the loop to the top again by asking for referrals. So getting our happy buyers to refer new clients and prospects to us and fill the top of the funnel that way. So it's actually not just a funnel that goes one way, it actually goes back up and closes the loop.
At what point do you ask for the referral?
At the very end.
Of the sales cycle or at the very end of delivering the product so that there is the highest point of satisfaction? Okay,
so there is actually a little secret tip that I give all my clients, and I'll be happy to share it with you.
Yes.
you, ladies and gentlemen,
hear me out.
You ask for a referral every time you hear your client say thank you. Merci, Guillaume. Oh, I'm glad that you enjoyed what we did for you. Who else in your network would enjoy the same thing? Who would like to have the same experience as you just had? And because you said merci, Guillaume, you feel you feel indebted to me. You want to return the favor because I've just done you something good, which is why you said thank you. And so that's the ideal moment to say, who else in your network would enjoy that sort of outcome?
Mm-hmm.
And importantly, you don't ask who else do you know would buy from me, but you make it sound like they would be doing their contact a favor by introducing you.
How I love this. So just to be clear, we do that, but I love the way you break it down, Peter. So let's go even further down the rabbit hole. How do you then guide your clients to do the introduction? Is it, hey, does it make sense to make a three-way introduction via email? Do you want to start a chat? How do you, they said, yes, I'm thinking of someone. How do you get them to actually do the introduction that will have the highest likelihood of converting?
Okay, here's what most people do, and they do it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, can you introduce me? Can you send them an email introducing the two of us? And what will happen is that the contact who just said thank you to you and who's agreed to introduce you to somebody will think, all I have to do is send an email and that's my job done, end of story.
Mm-hmm.
The person at the other end that's being introduced has no idea who you are, why they're being introduced, or why they should even be interested. And the whole introduction falls over because your contact did what he said you would do, and you didn't get anywhere. So here's how to avoid this. Right? You say to your contact, that's great that you have this person in mind. Would you mind giving them a call and asking them for permission to introduce me? Yeah, because you think about it. If you're the person being introduced and you just received this email from somebody that you may or may not know, and they say, you should meet Guillaume, he's a great guy. You still go, well, why should I? I don't know anything about Guillaume. I don't know why I'm being introduced. And it sounds like I'm being, hot potatoed from this contact. So by doing the right thing and getting your contact to ask their contact for permission to introduce you, that makes them then explain why they want to introduce you. Also, once they've gained permission of the person being introduced, it's much easier then to say, hey, I'm the person that you agreed to meet. Let's talk.
I love that. Who do you typically help, Peter?
I help business leaders and decision makers and salespeople in B2B services organizations, so people that sell organizations that sell services to other organizations, and technology businesses, including startups. Sorry, let me rephrase this. Including startups who can afford to pay me.
Important rephrasing. The way you sell service, B2B services, is quite different than the way you sell technology and B2B technology. Okay, challenge me.
Yeah.
No, why not?
Because if we talk about what we're selling, then you're absolutely right. Because most salespeople will be trained and told that they have to sell the product or the service, the features and the benefits, and then argue about price. What I do is I say, forget about what we're selling. Forget about how we want to sell it, like our sales process, because as I mentioned earlier, nobody wants to be squeezed into your sales process when I'm really interested in my buying process. Forget about what you're selling and forget about your sales process. Talk about the benefits of what you're selling, whether it's a service or a product, doesn't matter. And then talk about the benefits of those benefits. Take it one level lower, deeper, right? And I'll tell you what I mean by that. There is obviously an initial business case that makes people want to buy your product or service. An ROI or a time to payback, internal rate of return, whatever the financial terms are. There must be a business benefit for your buyer to buy from you. Right? That's a given. But this is where most salespeople stop. They say, look, it makes sense because you'll get your money back in 6 months and you can save yourself, X amount of dollars and, blah, blah, blah. What they forget about is that there's a benefit to the benefit. And the benefit to the benefit is that if as an organization, I save money, I can then invest it into these other things. Or I can expand my staff and my operation. And so there's a benefit to the benefit that's still related to the business. But then we go one step further. Can you guess what the one step further is?
Enlighten me.
And that is, we talk about the decision maker personally. And often there's not just one single decision maker. I agree that there's often a buying committee. But whether it's a single decision maker or a buying committee, everybody will be scared to get the decision wrong, right? And most salespeople don't even think about that. They go, I've got a great product, I'm going to sell the product. And they don't turn around and say, what do I look like from the buyer's perspective? But the buyer is actually fearful of getting the decision wrong because of negative repercussions if they do get it wrong. Like I might fall out of favor with my boss. My reputation in the marketplace will suffer. I might become unemployed. If they sack me, I might not get the promotion that I was looking for. I might not get that pay rise I was looking for. So they go, nah, I don't want to get this wrong. So what you do is you talk about what it means personally to the buyer if they get it right, and you paint a picture for them. Right? So you're saying that, and you use questions to draw that out of them. You don't tell them, you get them to answer the questions. And the questions are, what would happen if this decision goes bad? If it doesn't work out and you're the one who's to make the decision? Oh my God, don't even say that. How could you mention that? That's terrible, right? I might lose my job. My wife would leave me and I'll be destitute for the rest of my life. That sort of thing.
No pressure. No pressure.
Okay, so then what would happen if this really comes off and it's hugely successful? Mm-hmm. Well, I might get a pat on the shoulder, I might get a promotion, I might get a pay rise, I might get a bonus, bringing home more money to the family, but my wife will love it. We can go on a holiday together, happy wife, happy life. So by pointing out the personal benefits to the decision maker or makers, sets you aside from your competitors, and also makes them realize that they want to buy from you because they're getting something that's personally benefiting them at a I keep saying a personal level. Now, I mentioned the fearful side, right? Which is another technique that I teach my clients. And because every decision maker is fearful of getting their decision wrong, they're fearful of making a decision. And to a degree, that's also why buying committees exist, because it's not one person that's at fault. It'll be like the whole group if it goes wrong, right? So how, as a seller, can you address that scenario? How can you address a fearful buyer who's hesitant to make a decision because it might have negative repercussions on them? And you do that by raising a subject that your competitors will avoid talking about. I'll say that again. You raise a subject that your competitors will avoid talking about. Mm-hmm. What's that subject, Guillaume?
Well, what happens if things go bad? I think this is already a pretty powerful one.
Yeah, no, in their mind, they will now say, okay, I know I'll be in the doghouse if things go wrong. Mm-hmm. And then they want to know, how do I get things right?
Yeah.
Right? So you address the subject of buyer risk. Mm-hmm. You say, Guillaume, you realize in every business decision that you make, there's an element of risk involved. Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Pretty damn sure.
It's pretty self-explanatory, right? Mm-hmm. So then, Guillaume, would you like to know what specific risks you and your organization are exposed to in making this decision. What can go wrong for you? Would you like to know?
So am I supposed to answer that, or are you
yeah. It's a rhetorical question. You'd say, yeah, of course I want to know what could go wrong, right?
Yeah.
And then you go, well, these are the three things that could go wrong in our experience. These are the three top things that can go wrong in our experience, right? And the top one is, of course, you spend your money and you don't get what you're buying, right? What you're looking for. The next one is that the software that you're buying doesn't actually have the features that you're looking for. You know, whatever the three reasons are, they depend on your particular circumstances. But then here's the key that you say, would you like to know how we at Peter Strohkorb Sales Advisory help our clients to avoid those risks? How we mitigate those risks for you? How we help you to avoid getting it wrong? What would you say?
Fill me in.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Hell yes, I want to know how you help me not get it wrong, right? How you make me look good to my boss, how you help me get that promotion, right?
Yeah.
And then you talk about what you do to avoid your buyers making the wrong decision. And it could be like some sort of performance guarantee, a trial, that you show them exactly what the software will do before they need to commit to it, you know, and that you prove that it can address all the challenges that the organization has. So, and of course, you've got success stories and you've got testimonials and you've got a history, but what you avoid is to say the same thing as everybody else will, namely,
my product is the best.
Yeah, we're the best. Nothing will go wrong. Trust us. As soon as you say trust us, people go, oh, do I really want to trust you? You know, and so you actually become very specific and say, this is how we protect our buyers, our customers from getting it wrong. And I guarantee you, nobody else will talk to them like that. Everybody else will say, oh, nothing will go wrong, just trust us. We're big, we're ugly, we've been around for a long time, blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense?
It does. My God, I have so many questions. So this is transforming into a sales masterclass instead of a consulting business masterclass. But you know what? I'm fine with it. Let's rock with that. And I think actually, I mean, I'm talking to a lot of B2B coaches and consultants, and they love to deliver, and they are experts, and they love their job, but they hate selling. So I think this level of advice is actually going to help anybody listening to this, Peter. So let's double down on this. I have a few questions. First of all, is at which point do you ask those questions? Is it at the discovery phase? Is it after you've walked through what the solution was and highlighted the benefits, not the features? Like, at what point do you kind of sit in the pain, right? I like to call it like this, and then say like, hey, here is how we help you avoid having to sit in the pain. At which moment do you do that?
As early as possible. I like to do something that I call framing the conversation. Yeah, and here's why. Before I elaborate on how I do it, let me talk to you about why I do it. And that is, every buyer will see a sales rep as somebody who's lower in status than them. Yeah, they'll say, this guy wants to sell me something. I've got to make sure he's not tricking me. He or she, sorry, is not tricking me, right? And so what, as a seller, we need to do is we need to present ourselves as an equal level. And you present yourself at an equal level by saying, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not here to sell you. I'm here to see whether A, there's a good fit for us to work together, B, whether I can help you, and see how you can benefit from our interaction. Right? So when I talk about framing the conversation, that this is what I like to do right at the first point of contact. When we've booked a call and it's just an exploratory call, and they want to see whether we are a candidate to go on the short list, because there's always a short list. And at that point, I say, Guillaume, would you allow me to frame this conversation for us before we start? And most Guillaumes would say, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but sure. And you say, okay, let's agree this is not a sales call. This is an information call. If we find that there's something that something more that we can talk about, then let's do that. But if we find that there's not a good fit for us, then let's just acknowledge it and walk away without any further problems, right? And in that moment, what I'm saying to you is, if you don't like what I'm selling or how I'm presenting myself, you have the right to say go away, and I promise I won't hound you, which is what a lot of salespeople do. They try to follow up and touch base, and keep in touch, that sort of thing. So I say, if you don't like, if you feel that there's not a good fit, let's just acknowledge it and be good with it. What I've done there, psychologically speaking, is I put myself on the same level as the person I'm speaking to, and I just said, let's just be honest. Right? The deal is, you will listen to what I have to say, and you will allow me to ask questions. But in return, if you say it doesn't work for us, I will not hound you and keep trying. Right? And most people say, that's really refreshing. I love that. Thank you very much. That's a deal. And actually, the more senior the person you're talking to, the more you'll get that reaction. Because they don't want to be sold to. They just want to get the best solution for their challenge.
Nobody likes to be sold, but they like to buy. And I think what you're talking about here, Peter, is you're just removing the sales pressure. It's like, hey, look,
on both parties.
Exactly. We are here to work together to see if this is a fit. If not, no problem at all. Usually, you know that you can help the person, but they don't know it yet, and you don't want to make it look pushy. Another question: what do you say when someone asks you, a prospect asks you, "Hey, tell me about your clients who didn't get results from your services? What usually is going wrong with your service?"
Okay, so you're talking about me and my clients personally.
So when you have a prospect telling you, Peter,
yes,
"Hey, tell me about the clients who are not getting results from your services."
Okay,
how do you react to that?
I can give you a very concrete example. I had a client before Christmas last year in another state of Australia. I'm in Australia, by the way. Hello, Australian. And I'm on the East Coast, and this is somebody on the West Coast. A totally different country.
So I heard.
And to my amazement, they actually engaged me. In fact, the sales leader brought me into the organization because they were very focused on what they were selling and on their sales process. And I suggested that the CEO should be involved in this process as well, because without their sanction, nothing was going to happen. I should say the sales leader had been in the organization for 16 years and still wasn't allowed to make a decision by themselves.
Nice.
Right. So you can get the idea of what the business owner was like. He very much saw and still does see it as his business, and nobody could possibly know as much about the business as he would, and nobody could make a better decision than he would.
Yeah.
At the same time, he was fearful. He was seriously fearful of making the wrong decision, so he preferred not to make a decision. And those are the kinds of people that I just cannot help. There's an English saying that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. That was the exact situation here. So after a while, we just agreed that there was nothing further I could do for them, even though I pushed pretty hard. And tried to get them to at least adopt a company motto or slogan. And he couldn't even make a decision about that. And so we said, look, even if you just make a decision now and then change it later, it's fine. Just make a decision. And he couldn't. And so this business owner is actually his own worst enemy. I'm very sorry.
So are you saying that, just to make sure I understand, right? You want to work with people who are going to make a decision, whether that's a positive or negative, to work with you or work with your clients.
No, I want them to be willing to learn, to listen, and to act.
Yeah.
Right. I always work with my clients. I don't tell them what to do. I don't come in from the outside pretending that I know better than them.
Mm-hmm.
I purposely called the organization Peter Strohkorb Sales Advisory,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I do. I advise. And so under your circumstances and with these clients, selling what you have in your geography and your industry, I advise you to do this. How can we bring that into your organization? And I mentioned I may or may not have mentioned that there's 10 competencies to the bio-focused sales funnel and bio-focused selling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a constant. But then how we bring those 10 competencies into your organization, how we make them work for your organization, is an individual thing. Mm-hmm. So it's advisory, and it's working with the decision makers and the business owners and the sales leaders, mm-hmm. rather than training and coaching and telling them.
Yeah.
Once we've agreed on the approach, then we can fine tune, and we can do on-the-job coaching, and we can do ongoing sales training. Mm-hmm. But I like to bring the entire framework into an organization because it makes so much sense and has worked so well for so many others. Mm-hmm. If you say to me, this is still answering your question, like who do I not like working with, or what doesn't work? If you come to me and you say, look, I just need 3 days of sales training for my guys, can you do that? Mm-hmm. I would say yes, but. Mm-hmm. Because in my very own personal experience, putting salespeople into a room for 3 days, filling them with new stuff. Actually, it doesn't even need to be sales training. It can be any sort of training, technical training, or governance, mm-hmm. training, or whatever it is. But giving them new information to work with, then wiping my hands, going, good luck to you guys, and leaving them in a lurch will never lead to a good result. So the only way it works is if you fill them with the information, and then help them to apply it in the real world. Help them to apply it in their role on a daily basis. And that's why sales training will never be successful if it's not supplemented with sales coaching, on-the-job coaching.
Okay, so that's super interesting. And again, I want to go down a gazillion rabbit hole here. Let's put a pin on a specific decision-making process and actually taking a decision back, because I think that's when you manage to get your clients to actually understand that if they've been stuck for 6-12 months, working every hours of the day, not making progress, and this won't change unless they make a decision, and their very problem is not whatever reason is happening that they are not growing their business, it's just that they can't make a bloody decision. So it's a super important one. I just want to be crystal clear, because so people will have understood that I'm picking your brain now, Peter, but I also know of people who struggle with this objection. So here you've given us the explanation of what you do and you say, right? Of like, tell me about your clients who didn't get success from your services, to maybe get an advice that is applicable to any business. So it's going to be a bit more theoretical, less tactical, but what's the right framework? Like, I get asked, Guillaume, tell me about, some clients who didn't get results from a podcast you helped them launch. How do you reframe that in a way that's going to help you close the deal, if relevant?
Okay. So this will come up probably in the first introductory conversation. Mm-hmm. Remember that they're still trying to qualify you out or qualify you in, right? And it's a great time to bring up the subject of what works and what doesn't, right? So and you can actually remain on the same level, psychologically speaking, as them by saying, in our experience, our methods work best if we have these set of circumstances, right? Or the clients that have benefited the most from our program have been like this. Yeah. So you don't say, Guillaume, you're not right for me. You could say that, but it's not going to be very constructive. But you could say, but you could say, if you look like this, mm-hmm. if you act like that, then your chances of success will be much higher than if you don't.
Interesting. So you would
sorry, just one more thing.
go for it.
That also helps you then to qualify them in or out, right? Because if they say, "Oh, I can never do that," then you go, "Okay, but maybe it's not a good fit for us." And it also sets a set of precedents that they can take away and say, "Am I prepared to be that person, or is it not going to work for me?" So, so very quickly you can each qualify the other one in or out.
That's very interesting. So what you're suggesting, Peter, if I'm understanding properly, is not to say, "Hey, look, let me tell you the common criterias and the things that you need to do to make this not work," but rather, "Hey, I love this question. Here is what, in our experience, made our clients get results. There were B2B high tickets, like the list of your typical criterias, and there were list of behaviors that allow them to get the results." I like that.
And I think even more subtly, you can say the clients that benefit the most from us look like that. Right? So you don't actually have to actually make it conditional. You can just say these guys benefit the most.
That's good. That's good. Take me back to the making a decision. So when you, because I suspect in your career, you faced people who basically, when you're, and that's a bit like sales psychology, but when you're supposed to make a decision and you're not sure, you're uncertain, you're usually going to stall. And you're going to do everything you can to delay the decision, which is not helping you go anywhere. So how do you, and maybe from the pre-framing, the framing, the follow-ups, the case studies, the first call, second call, third call, how do you, Peter, get them to make a decision? In the sense of, sometimes I mean, they're like, "Look, I feel we can help. Like, I'm convinced of it. Otherwise, I would have not scheduled 3 calls. But clearly, this will only work if you're, if you're all in." So all I'm asking is that, and then obviously you shouldn't say that, but like, make a bloody decision. And like, if it's a no, fine. And just like, we live with it, and you're gonna implement whatever you want to implement. But like, nothing's gonna change unless you make that bloody decision.
Okay.
So how do you get them to act?
Okay, so the answer is simple.
I love that.
Because people make it more complicated than it needs to be, and also, as you say, they get impatient and they try to force the decision, and forcing a decision makes the person always go, no, I'm not ready for that. Right?
Yeah.
So the again, during the framing call, during the introductory call, you talk about the fact that you want to help them make the right decision. I say this again, you're here to help them make the right decision, right? And so a very simple question to ask is, Guillaume, have you bought something like this before? And Guillaume would say either, "No, we've never bought something like that before," or yeah, we do it all the time, right? So if you say, "No, we've never bought something like that before," then the seller should say, "Okay, who do you think should be involved in the decision making, and what criteria will you use to make your decision?" "Oh, I don't know." "Ah, would you like to know how other people that we deal with make these kinds of decisions?" And you actually offer to help them to build their buying process. But you come across as totally helping them to get the decision right, not selling them at any cost. If, on the other hand, they say, yeah, we've done this before, it's all good, then you say, "Good. Who is involved, and how do you decide?" I'd like to know, because I'd like to help you make the right decision. And you position yourself, psychologically speaking, on their side of the table, put your arms, figuratively speaking, around their shoulders and say, "Let me help you to make the right decision."
If you're in person, can you do that physically as well?
It depends on the circumstances.
Depends on the rapport that you've built so far.
If that conversation takes place in a bar, maybe.
I love that. Peter, what have I not asked you that could be a gem that you think is important to bring up?
Okay, so You haven't asked me about the 10 competencies.
Go for it. What are the 10 competencies?
Okay, so firstly, know who your ideal buyer is by a set of criteria that I use with my clients. Then once you know who they are, you want to know where they are. And I don't mean geographically speaking, I mean like where do they show up, what media do they consume, what clubs do they belong to, where do they hang out, right? So where can I find my ideal buyers? And once you go away from where is their head office and you think about where else they show up, that question becomes a lot easier to answer. Right? Then, of course, you need to have a reason for them to talk to you. And we give them two reasons. One is you must have a value proposition that's differentiating. So, we call it a USP for a reason, that it's the U is unique. If a lot of business owners talk about their business and they say, we're just the best. And that's meant to be the value proposition, right? But you need to say, why are you unique? What's different about you? And I help my clients to tease it out of them what is actually different about their business, what makes them stand out from the competitors and the crowd and the rest. Then the other thing that I talk about very seriously with my clients is you must have a brand promise. And most people don't know what a brand promise actually is, even marketers.
What is a brand promise?
And it is basically a succinct way to articulate to clients what it will be like to be your customer. So our promise to you, Mr. Customer, is that we will treat you like this and you will feel like that as our client. Nobody talks about customer experience. Everybody talks, we're great, we're big, we're ugly, we've had lots of clients, trust us. But nobody talks about this is what it will be like to be our client. And in that context, I've collated 7 different points that talk about the customer experience that you as a client will be experiencing from doing business while doing business with us. Right? The next one then is that, of course, you will always compete with others for the same deal. Very, very rarely will you be the only one who sniffed out this deal and can close it. There will always be competitors out there that will want the same business. So I have a technique that helps my clients to paint themselves in a better picture than their competitors without bad-mouthing the competition or the opposition. Right? Because as soon as you say, oh, those guys, don't do business with them, it actually reflects badly on you. So you need to have a way to promote your business above the others without talking badly about them. The next one is that because you won't be the only one to win that particular deal, you will be asked to present a proposal. And a lot of businesses and sellers focus on what goes into the proposal. And by the way, this is just an aside, they put way too much into the proposal because they go, I'll put everything in and hope that something will stick. And so I teach my clients what goes into the proposal and in what order and what sequence. And then I also teach them how to present the proposal in a way that gives you an unfair advantage and makes you the only one that they want to close the deal with. So that's the proposal content as well as the proposal process. Next thing is giving them such a great buying experience that they will not only come back for more and give you more repeat business, but they will also, with your help, refer new business to you. And then the last point is having a referral selling process in place that actually lets you manage that process. So a lot of referral selling is done ad hoc. Just think of it. Do you know anybody who could, buy from us as well? And that's a big mistake asking that question, because it's a closed question and I can just say, no, I don't know anybody. End of story. Whereas if you make it an open-ended question, you say who in your network could also benefit, provided you've said thank you before, right? Then we can close the loop and they can introduce the person to us after we've gained their permission. And it's all super professional and super polite. And nobody feels like, oh, I'm going to harass my contact and I'm going to feel forced to make this introduction that I don't really want to make. Because as I said earlier, if you use my method, your contact will actually feel like you're doing them a favor. Mm-hmm. And the person that's introducing their contact will feel like they're doing them a favor as well. So everybody is happy and nobody feels forced.
I love the way you do business, Peter. So wait, I only have 8. So who's your ICP? Where they are? Reason for them to talk to you. You must have a value proposition that's differentiating. Brand promise. Compete with others for the same deal and how to stand out. So the only thing I'm going to say on this 5th one is, unless you have proprietary deals, which happens when you have an outstanding brand. Closing the parenthesis. 6, I have proposal. 7, I have giving them such a great buying experience that they will come back to you, refer to you. 8, having a referral selling process in place. What's 9 and 10? Or did I miss some along the way?
I don't know.
You know what we can do? We can put the list of the 10 competencies in the show notes. If you have, I'm sure you have resources, right, that we can share with the audience. We'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. Well, look, I also can direct you to the website.
That was going to be my next question.
Where the 10 competencies are listed there.
Yeah.
One that I missed out on was be very clear about what you're selling, and even more importantly, be very clear about what your customers are getting. So what I've seen a lot of times is that as a seller, I know exactly what I'm selling, but I'm not doing a good job articulating it to the buyer, and the buyer doesn't want to say, "Oh, I don't understand. What are you talking about?" That they feel like they might look a bit silly, right? And so they'd rather say, "Oh, sorry, that's not right. That's not what we're looking for. Thanks very much." So being very clear about what you're selling is super important.
Yeah.
And let's see what else I've left out. How to engage and not ambush them. So when first reaching out, let's start again. In sales, there's outbound selling. So where I'm reaching out to somebody on my prospect list.
Yeah. And
then there's inbound selling where I'm trying to say, look at me. If you're looking for stuff that I'm selling, then come and talk to me. Right? Mm-hmm. And in each of those points, you must be able to attract them to you and to your business. And I've touched on it before, but you do that by presenting yourself as an expert in your field, somebody who knows more about this particular thing, this particular area of expertise than your buyer will, because you're dealing with it every day, you're selling it. So I, as a buyer, have an expectation that you know more than me and I can learn from you. Yeah. But in order to pull that off, you got to actually have something to say. And you got to have something to say that they didn't know. Something that that what I call creates a lean forward moment, right? Where Guillaume says, "Peter, that sounds really interesting. Tell me more about that." So we need to create lean forward moments that draw their attention, that get them curious, and that make them want to know more, and importantly, ask a question. Because once they say, "Tell me more," or "How does that work? Could it work for my business?" They've actually inadvertently, perhaps, but they have given you their permission for you to sell to them. Because they've asked a question, you're just simply answering the question. So you don't go what the Americans call show up and throw up. You actually get the customer or the prospect to ask you a question, and then you say, well, I'm glad you asked, here's how it works. Or I'm glad you asked because here's a case study. And by the way, I also teach my clients storytelling. Why? Because as you and I have already agreed, nobody likes to be sold to. And as humans, we are more open to being told a being told a story than we are to facts and figures. So when it's in our DNA. When we were living in caves with loincloths and sitting around the fireplace, storytelling was the way that knowledge was conveyed. Right? The Australian Aborigines still do today. And so it's in our DNA that we respond much better to stories than to facts and figures.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can couch your customer success into a story,
Mm-hmm.
then they'll listen to that much more readily than if you say 5,000 people have bought from us last month.
Yeah.
The way to introduce a story needs to be totally conversational.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, oh, by the way, Guillaume, now that I understand your situation, it sounds a bit like this other customer of ours, where and then I teach my clients three steps to effective storytelling. Mm-hmm. Where step one, this is what my customer experienced and felt emotionally when we first met them. They went, oh my God, we have all these problems and my job's on the line and no. Step two, this is what we did for our client. And then you openly talk about the products and services that you provide. We implemented this and it took 3 months and this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third step is the important one. This is what changed for our client.
Mm-hmm.
Not how great we are. This is what our clients experienced. This is what changed for them. And ideally, Guillaume, it'll be the opposite of step one.
Mm-hmm.
Like all this goes into yay. and then the client will feel, that's what I want from that myself as well. Mm-hmm. How can you make that happen for me in my organization? Mm-hmm. And it's just harmlessly telling a story about the client that had the same problems and overcame those.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've told you all my secrets, so I'm actually creating, because your audience is all consultants, I'm creating competition for myself here right now, right?
So we don't have a lot of, we work with a few sales consultants, but most of them are not sales. So I wouldn't say competitors, but I think this was an absolute masterclass, Peter. So thank you so much. I'm gonna close this with one thing, because I think there is like multiple takeaways to take in sales. Like honestly, if you're listening to this, if you're still here, congrats, like you're investing into your learning. But remember, if you don't apply what you just learned, at least one thing, right? You haven't learned, you just entertain yourself. So take one of the things that you enjoyed the most in what Peter broke down here and try it and implement it and test on it. Because I think multiple of the things that you mentioned, we are doing, not everything, by the way. So I did take notes. But it was an absolute masterclass. One of the things I want to double down on, because I know this is a problem inherent to so many B2B coaches and consultants, especially the ones I speak to, too many of them rely only on referrals to get new business, and they don't even have a process to get those referrals. It's just like, whenever clients will feel like it, they will send me business. And I think, if anything, this is one of the things you broke down very well, Peter, how to get referrals proactively without sounding too pushy. That's number one. Number two is I'm part of a mastermind of people doing lots and lots of money. And when you have like proper acquisition channel in place, referrals still should be representing at least 30% of the closed deals that you get and that your sales rep gets. Meaning referrals, if done well with a process like Peter broke down, still is huge and could account for a third of the sales of your sales team. So do it. And for those who only rely on referral, just bear in mind that you have a threefold potential if you were having an acquisition channel on top of this.
Yeah.
Closing the parenthesis. Peter, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
Okay, so I'm pretty much everywhere. So you can go You can go to the website at peterstrohkorb.com. You can go and find me on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel with, 150, 200 videos. Some of them are what I call life lessons for business owners. So lessons that I've learned from other business owners of what to do and what not to do. Mm-hmm. So they're all 1 or 2 minute short videos, just addressing an individual subject there. But the main thing that we haven't even spoken about is that you can actually assess your own sales funnel individually in your own time without anybody looking over your shoulder to see where you have opportunities for improving your own sales funnel if you believe in buyer-focused selling. And it's free of charge. It takes 5 minutes, but it will give you insights into where you could do better. And Guillaume, I'd be happy to send you a link to that as well.
We'll put all the links in the description. Absolutely. Peter, okay. Thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.